Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network. As per usual, I am ScottyD, and tonight I am joined with Will. How are you doing, Will?
Hey, mate. I'm good. Pleasure to be here. How are you?
Yeah, going well. Thanks, mate. And tonight we've got the TNA Open, or to properly expand it, the Northside Alliance Open tournament preview that is happening this weekend up in Brisbane, Queensland. And it's really exciting, I should say, because this is the first Queensland tournament we're covering on the network. We got Jack, who's traveling up there to cover it, and we're still trying. I think we're going to get some additional commentators remotely as well, which will be great. So we'll have some great coverage from the weekend. And also welcome into everyone in chat. It is great to have you joining us as well. For those of you who haven't joined us for a tournament preview before, if you don't manage to be able to stick around for the entire thing, or you come in halfway through, we do these live here on Twitch on our ATW Twitch channel, but then we also upload them to YouTube a couple of days before the tournament. So for those of you who do come in halfway, or can't stay for the entire time, you can watch it there on the ATWN YouTube channel afterwards as well. And what we're going to be doing tonight, we're going to be getting to know Will a little bit, get to know a bit more about the Queensland tournament scene and such, as well as talking about TNA Open, the tournament format, the terrain, the missions, as well as what the meta looks like, alongside with the notable players or some of the players we've picked out to have a look at for some lists and discuss them as well. But to start us off, Will, why don't you give us a bit of a brief background about yourself? How long have you been in the hobby? What armies do you play? Kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, mate. More than merry to. So, for those who don't know me, I'm still relatively new to the 40k scene in Australia. But I started kind of playing 40k at the tail end of 8th, early 9th, just as COVID hit type of thing. We hit lockdown, and I decided to pull out the old Crons as my first army and give it a go at an earlier test event, the QGCC, the Queensland Gaming Guild, I believe it is. They're great guys over there. And so kind of dived in from there into decided to go, I like this game. This is a lot of fun. And jumped into competitive pretty heavily in early 2021. So I've been going for about 3 years now. I play, main things at the moment is Custodes of Knights, though I have been known to play Marines and Crons and Harleys and dabble in a wider range of things as you do. I've had the honor of playing for Queensland 2 years in a row, which we've both won ATC. And then this year, I just got back from Belgium playing for Australia, and we managed to snag third, which was bloody awesome and an absolute great time to be a part of the Australian team and a part of, producing a podium team for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, awesome. Love to hear that. And I also started Necrons around the same time when Indominus dropped as well. So I do love the Silver Boys. So,
yeah, pretty good, mate.
Yeah. After playing Marines for over a decade, you got to pick something else up.
Yeah, I get you.
So next up, to discuss the namesake of the tournament, why don't you tell us a bit more about the Northside Alliance? What you guys are all about, what you guys do in the community in terms of your 40k scene, and what events you kind of do throughout the year outside of just the TNAO.
Yeah, 100%. So the Northside Alliance was started by a band of Scrabble players together at Good Games at Strathpine a couple of years ago in Brisbane, Australia. So we have Reese Panada, who's our club president. We're actually an NF non-for-profit, so everything we do, we put straight back into our community, and we're really focused on running pre-match made like club nights. That's our main thing. So every week on a Friday, you put your I'm keen for a game in the Discord that we have on like a Wednesday or a Tuesday, and we'll tee you up with a game of whatever tier you like. Other than that, we do a lot of stuff in terms of community events. So we run a lot of like smaller RTTs. We did a fundraising event for 2-day for WTC this year. Last year we did 1-day teams a little bit. We want to do some more of that this year. We haven't done a heap, but we're very community focused, community driven, and we do a lot of leagues as well. So very heavily on like the narrative league and getting people their foot in the door to have fun and learn 40k and just be a part of the community. And look, these days we're getting anywhere from like 20 to 30 people on a Friday night to come into play. Yeah, so it's an absolute blast.
No, that's awesome. And it's good to hear, because I having talking with Dalton from the Victorian scene, very similar thing that, there's that, not just the competitive focus, but that more narrative, as well as intro level focus to get people in and playing the game and having fun as well. I think, that's really important to have the community growing, because I think if you're not having fresh blood coming in, then your community's dying. Because
Yeah, man, that's a big focus of ours, is trying to make sure we're getting everybody in the door, and especially with the new edition and all the new things coming. Like we did a launch league, and I think we had nearly 40 people in on the first night of 10th. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, that is great to hear, and it's awesome to hear a bit more about the Queensland scene, which is actually going to be my next question. So do you want to just dig into a bit more in terms of what the Queensland scene is like, not just in terms of tournaments? Like, I know from listening to the normal blokes, it's more club focused. So I'd like, if you can go into a bit more about that.
100%.
As well as like how many people, like generally in terms of players across the scene, your local hubs that you have for regular gaming and things like that as well.
Yeah, 100%. So Queensland's got a pretty robust scene. A lot of it is based in the southeast Queensland region. However, we have Sinner in chat. I've just seen he is actually a big advocate. He's running an awesome club of Townsville at the moment. That's taken off pretty heavily. So it's good to see it growing in other parts of Queensland. But yeah, Queensland's very much focused on club play, whether it be like the Friday or the Thursday night. So you have like the Low Rollers Club. They play at Annerley. At a shop out there, which is just south Brisbane City. They do a similar thing to us with the pre-main matches and use a Discord and everything like that, or a Facebook chat. You got the normal blokes, as you mentioned. They play each other a lot. They play other people, but they're very heavily on tournament focus. They don't run club nights per se, but they're more of a team, and they do an awesome job, mate. Like, they've helped raise the Queensland scene through their podcast, through playing, like through Liam and Denise and other guys coaching everyone around them. You've got Ethos, which is Eric Lathuros, Simon Gojcevic, and Hayden Waldock, and plenty of other people. Like, that's a very strong team, very big name of Australian players and list of good players there. They've been around, again, more of a club focused for tournaments, but they always coach people and invite them in. For actual friendly gaming shops, we have a lot of these good games around. We've got Vault Games in the city as well. We've got Annerley. You have Wargamers Hub on the north side of Brisbane near us. That's kind of the key areas. And also down the Gold Coast, sorry, I forgot to mention, we've got the Drop Bears. They do an awesome club events down there, like RTTs and small stuff and gaming nights. And they run out of Irresistible Force on the south side. And finally, the man, the myth, the legend, Josh McGowan, runs Gladiator Gaming events, runs all the big tournaments, and runs a cool little team himself.
Yeah.
Out of Toowoomba.
Yeah, nice. So it's kind of, as you're saying, you got Sinner, who's up in Townsville, but a lot of it is around kind of that Brisbane, Sunshine Coast area.
Look, it's probably, well, like probably 200, 300 kilometers square area, like a area of like people kind of that southeast Queensland region where a lot of population is. But, it's growing in other places, which is just great to see. Yeah,
100%. If you were to put a ballpark figure, how many players do you think are in kind of that wider scene?
Oh man, it's a lot, because like that's not accounting for your GWs, right? Like, we have a championship store in Brisbane. Look, just at tournaments, like for reference, for interest, we had initially like maybe 150, 160 people sign up for TNO. Now that's just competitive players. Yes, some of them are traveling, but that's not accounting for your narrative guys. Like, that for us personally, reflecting on that, it's probably like maybe a tenth to a third, or not tenth, probably like 2/3 of our club didn't sign up. So if you extrapolate that across, we're looking at like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of thousand people that actually play Warhammer across Queensland if you add it all up, but at different levels, right? Like at narrative, at painting, at just involved in like the community to the competitive players.
Yeah, which is that's awesome. Like, it's always interesting, because I think Dalton gave me a bit of a similar figure from memory as well. It was, with how they're spread out across Melbourne and as well. So it's like, all right, cool. Because being here in Canberra, our scene is so small. We've probably got, in terms of like tournament players, maybe 40 at most.
Okay.
But in terms of like the narrative side and, games workshops as well, we've probably got reaching up to maybe about 100, maybe 200 at most. But mind you, Canberra's population is about 500,000 compared to Queensland, that's 3.5 million. So
it makes a bit of a difference. Like, being a planned city versus, a real one. I'm just joking. It's a bit of shade, but yeah.
Oh, no. Being from New South Wales originally myself, the shade is completely fine. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, that's awesome to hear about the Queensland scene and get a bit more insight into what is actually going on in Queensland. But let's jump into TNA Open.
Let's do
So
it.
I'm gonna bring it up on screen. Well, I think that is a bit early in the pack, but that should, yeah. So 3 days, 8 rounds,
Yeah.
massive. Do you want to talk us
First,
through that kind of picking the eight games over 3 days?
yeah, man. So this goes back to Uprising 2022. It's the first time that like a few of the TNA boys have traveled for an event, like an actual big event. We like it was the ITC Championships that year. It was like 127 players. It was 3 days, and we had a few guys like Reese, Zach, DeGlass, Oliver Johnson, myself, and like staying with the normal work. So Liam and there was and Denise, and there was about 30 of them, right? So we had this massive house, and we're like, this is some of the best fun we've ever had, and we would love to be able to do this more than once a year. Now, last year we were like, okay, let's just test the waters. Let's try and put in a decent sized G team. I think we've got 80 players, which we were like, okay, that's pretty solid. Let's try and push it and push to the 3 day and make an adventure and out of it and entice other states to send players and come and have some fun. So, we really just want to share the Australian skill level and the players and just get more people involved in into competitive events, because some people view events as a bit of a like you got to be good to go, but it's actually like you're just there to have fun at the end of the day. Like, there's only one winner. Everyone else is losers, and like I think we've all been losers in that regard. So come and hang out, get involved, meet some new people, and have some good games.
Yeah, awesome. So it is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of September, which is this coming weekend. Now, something I noticed when I was going through the player pack, just looking at some details, 2 hours, 45-minute rounds. You see you've got this window where you'll generally see between 2.5 to 3 hour for rounds.
Yep.
Was there any kind of idea behind that 2 hour 45 picking right in the middle?
Look, to be honest, like that kind of bleeds over from our last edition player packs and the game rounds. Like we normally go for 2 hours and 45. We don't exactly always follow that to the exact T, because sometimes people run over, like you need a little bit of a break, right? So we generally fire 2:45 is about right for a 2,000 point game. Even in 10th, we found 10th games have kind of sped up a little bit. You can kind of see where they're going sooner, especially with the new mission design. So yeah, that's kind of where that comes from.
Yep. Yeah, cool. Because I've seen events do 3 hours, some 2 hours. It's just interesting to see the middle and see what the motivation behind that one is. So we've got 3 rounds on Friday and Saturday, and 2 rounds on the Sunday. Now, something else I'll pull up. You're doing a top cut.
We sure are, mate. Yeah. So the top 4 players will be going to a top cut, and then I believe you'll be streaming those tables on the last day, which would be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be good to see those top tables duke it out. See who goes on to playing for first spot in the final for the top cut as well. It's interesting because having a top cut isn't something we generally see in the Australian scene. I think maybe Uprising last year or the year before, 2022 2022 may have had it. And so it's slowly coming in for the big 3-dayers. But I do think that it's definitely important because it means that you don't have someone potentially submarining when you can't get someone you can't have someone fully undefeated at the end of 8 rounds.
Yeah, look, I've personally run into this issue, like on both sides of where you submarine up and also where you get really close to the sun, especially when you could get better as a player and you get that, like you get to playing for third type of thing. And then because you're like on the lower side of the undefeated, you get punted down to like 9th at the last round, especially on like big events and stuff. And look, we've got some awesome prizes for this, and we're going all the way out to 8th position. For the actual prize placings, so we want to like make sure that those people in the top 4 are guaranteed. Like they've climbed a mountain to get there across 2 days. We want to make sure that they are set for that.
Yeah. All right. I've just got an error on the players pack, so give me 1 second. Because I've actually just opened up. I'm gonna have to hide this for a second, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies. Unless Reese has just updated it on us.
He actually might have. That might be why.
All right. Cool. So, if you've got it handy there, Will, do you want to just quickly walk through what those prizes were? Because I was actually going to be just going to pull them up for everyone in chat to actually see what was going on for those.
No problems at all. So, following last year's placements, we have $1,000 for first prize. We really want to nail home and make that a big prize for the event. For second place, we have $750. Third place, $500. Fourth place, $250. Fifth place, $250. $250 for sixth place, and then $150 for seventh, $135 for eighth. Now, the idea we have here is you have the top cut, and those prizes for top cut are pretty solid. Like, you get your attendance back and a bit more, and there'll be other things of round two that we'll be giving out. We're actually giving out a prize to the Uprising ticket for free. So Napier and us have coordinated with the Uprising crew, and they're going to give a ticket for our event next year, and we're going to give a ticket for their event this year, type of thing. So go back and forth and share the love a bit. We are then essentially going, like, because we don't have the pod system, and also Uprising switching off the pod system, we're just doing the top cut. We want to make sure that the open bracket from like fifth onwards gets a bit of representation. And then that's why we've got the prizes out to eighth. We want to share the love, make sure everyone kind of gets a chance to win stuff. So we got a decent prize pool of money out there. We also have best sports for $400 and then $200 for runner-up. Best painted for the same thing. And like OCC, Diffy's doing an awesome job with OCC. I'm sure you've seen the awesome circuit that's been going around. We're a part of that. This is a ticketed event to the finals down in Melbourne to get a spot for that. We are also giving out prizes from OCC. We're giving out prizes from Art of War, thanks to Alex and the Art of War crew. There'll be coaching and dice and all different subscription services. And then Wargamers Hub as well is giving out. Look, I think I can't remember the top of my head, but we're looking at $1,000 to $2,000 worth of other products we'll be handing out. So it's a lot of stuff. We're just going to give back to the community and just share the love through random draws and, like, strength of schedule prizes. And we got all different medallions and stuff coming with it too. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love to hear, because I did, before the players pack went on my side, I did see that you had one for like the top person, like the what was it? It was like 7-1, 6-2, etc., all the way down.
Yeah, we've also got the winners brackets.
Yeah, which is great to see as well. So then it's like, okay, cool. Like you can still kind of, even if you are in that, going into round 8, that's 7 losses and 0, you managed to win your last game. You're in the running to potentially, get the top of that bracket to get a prize, which is awesome.
Exactly. And my favorite award from this, mate, is we do a thing. We do two. So my two favorite is newcomers awards. So we'll pick out someone who hasn't been to an event before. It's their first major event, so a 2-day or bigger, right? And we'll pick them and give them a first time tournament prize for that. And then the other one is hard yard. So it's the highest players outside of top 8 who had the highest strength of schedule. So they've gone through the hard yards of going on to these top amazing players that come from across Australia, and they're still doing well.
Yeah. Which is great. I was just, funnily enough, I was just chatting on another recording with another podcast, and I gave them the idea of something we did in Canberra years and years ago that I still love to do, is called Mediocre Man. It's the person who's smack bang in the middle of the tournament.
That's awesome, mate. That's a good idea.
So that was something we came up with years ago, and it's still a good one to throw in there that we thoroughly enjoy here in the Canberra scene. Cool. So we talked prizes, mentioned OCC. The other thing I got to check off on, ITC ranked as well?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah.
Cool.
And it'll be worth a lot of points, similar to other big events. And for those that are trying to win, I can't play, sadly. I would love to go for the win this year, but it's good for those that are coming up. Like, I can see a cheeky Matt Morrisoli and Brody Middleton coming in, or Finn Decker, right? So
yeah. Or you could even see Alex there, who's currently from last time I checked it, in second place. He's behind Dylan Cowan. And this could actually, if Alex takes it out, this could actually slingshot him above Dylan.
Yeah, he's a good player, mate. If he takes it out here and then he does really well at Uprising, you never know, right? Could be a bit of an upset of who's winning this year. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see different names up there as well with the rankings. So, and it's even keeping on top of that, it's good to see diversity across the states too. It's not just all Victoria or New South Wales now. It's like, there's South Australians in there, there's Queensland. Like, there's a good amount of people going throughout the rankings as well, which is awesome. So I reckon let's talk about terrain.
Yep.
So from memory, in the players pack, you're using the WTC as kind of the base for the terrain for the weekend.
Yeah, so we're actually doing two sets of tables type. So we're using WTC for 50% of the tables. So mainly the War Masters pack.
Hmm.
That was from this year. And then the other 50%, we're using our own terrain. Now, we ran terrain for the last couple of years from government grants and from community funding for TNA. And it's kind of a cross between Uprising and WTC. It's a combination of both. And with 10th, we haven't had the most amount of time to test and find what the best layouts are, but we've come up with something in the middle with like mainly 9.5, 9 by 5 inch bases on a lot of smaller WTCLs, and then the big ruin out of Uprising, the big triangle, the big U, combined with a small U, and then a large WTCL and some crates and stuff. So these, like, I spent a bit of time trying to get these maps right across the last little bit. It was a little bit hard being away at WTC, but did what we could. So they're designed to be pretty balanced around a medium table. So you have two large ruins, two to three small ruins, a tempo table, and two crates.
Yeah.
And first floor blocked and everything as well, to stop those pesky towering units.
Yeah. And so I guess, as we were talking before the stream, the terrain pack has actually got the missions on there, so we can actually talk through the missions as we actually talk about the terrain. So
100%.
for the first round, you got Hammer and Anvil deployment, with Take and Hold as your primary, so it's your traditional score 5 victory points for each one that you're holding. From turn 2 onwards, up to a max of 15. If you go first, you score top of the turn 5. If you go second, you score bottom. With Chilling Rain. So keeping it pretty simple first round.
Yeah, look, we want people to get comfortable on like the terrain. I don't know if people have played a lot of WTC, have played a lot of our terrain before, right? So just a nice, easy intro mission to get them into the round, and nothing that's going to throw the balance out too far from like left field what people are expecting.
Yeah, and so with the terrain map, just looking at on screen, you got those L's in the middle, and then you've got the bigger ones in the top right, bottom left. You got the crates on pretty much just on center, just offset. On the right-hand side is just towards the bottom player. On the left-hand side is towards the top player. You've also got those smaller L's, half in, half out of the deployment zone on the left, top left, and bottom right. And then in the center, opposing to where the crates are, you've got those other ones as well, those WTC style ones, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so to me that looks like a pretty good layout. You got covering your deployment, as well as some fire lanes available to you, but you can also fully hide as well. So it's a great, I would say it's great balance for that
thanks,
one.
Man.
And then we've got the second layout, which is more the WTC layout. I'm guessing.
Correct. This is straight pulled out of the third round of WTC. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's one of the Hammer and Anvil missions we used in War Masters.
Yeah.
Again, creating a very balanced table of a lot of medium ruins and two heavies, and following the similar crate design that we've got for ours.
Yep. So yeah, I would say if I was to pick the two, I'd probably go more WTC. I'm a fan of blocking fire lanes from deployments personally.
Okay.
As best as possible. You can never get it perfect, because there's always going to be angles, but it's the straight lanes that are like, okay, they're clear, but also some people might get caught out by that. So being able to be like, okay, cool, you got enough in there that you can hide from those fire lanes and stuff I find is quite helpful. Round 2, we come to sweeping engagement. So this is angled Hammer and Anvil. With Scorched Earth and Hidden Supplies. So Scorched Earth, this is the one where you can sack objectives to, where is it? I'm just looking at it. So during the game, you can score 5 victory points for each objective you can control up to 10. First battle, whoever goes first scores the top of turn, whoever goes second scores at the bottom. End of the battle, each player scores 5 victory points if one or more objective markers no man's land was burnt by a unit from their army, and 10 if the objective marker in their opponent's deployment zone was burnt. And this one is Hidden Supplies, so it's the additional objective marker. And I do like this on your deployment map, that you've actually put where those objective markers have to go.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't doing that, mate. And I was like looking at it going, we probably need to do this, guys, because otherwise people might get confused.
100%. It also means that players are playing the same game.
Yeah.
As well, because if people like, if they don't read it properly, they misread it and go, it's meant to go towards deployment zone, which it's not, they can, put it the completely other way and turn it into a completely different match. So again,
exactly, they could put it in the road instead of being out in the open slightly.
Yeah, which I think is definitely the intent. You've got those bigger L's that are covering the home deployment ones as well. Which is nice. You've got the U-shaped buildings on the top and bottom furthermost objectives. And then in the middle, you've got it kind of majority in the open with about a third of it in that ruin as well. And decent line of sight coverage on the deployment side as well. You've got, the two large, not L-shaped, it's more the full angled triangle ones. In the top left, bottom right, so majority is in there, but they're not fully in there. Then you got the WTCLs as well. It's kind of about 70-30 in the deployment as well. So again, good coverage, blocking the fire lanes and such as well, and crates also in that. And this is actually interesting. What is the rationale behind the deployment of the crates on that top right and bottom left corners?
So one of the things that it can be a bit cheeky, right, is if you have something in deep strike that comes in turn 3 or turn 2, potentially fit in that bottom right corner there. So we wanted to give our defending players at home kind of a chance to put a unit behind there to stage into, whether it's infiltrators or just move off the deployment line into the orange ruin or behind the crate to kind of have a place to safely block deep strike or reinforcements.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. It's something I haven't really seen before, but it's definitely a good call. And then you've got the WTC map, very similar to the previous one that we had for round 1. The only thing is this one doesn't have the additional objective on there, but with the other one on the first map, you can actually be like, oh no, we're meant to place it this way. So it kind of informs the players as well in that instance, which is great.
Yeah, we spent a bit of time trying to figure this out at WTC where exactly it goes. So it's good to have it at least on one map.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100%. Okay. This one I'm actually really intrigued by because this is something I've talked about with others before. Round 3, search and destroy, which is table quarters. Purge the foe and targets of opportunity. This is a wordy mission.
It sure is, mate.
So you've got Purge the Foe, which is pretty much 8th edition ITC, where if you're holding one objective, you get 4 points. If you're holding more than your opponent, you get another 4 points. If you, if you kill one enemy unit, you get 4 points. If you kill more than your opponent, you get another 4 points. So in a single battle round, you can score up to 16 points on primary. So there's 4 things you've got to keep track of. You then add in targets of opportunity, which if you're playing tactical missions, you get 3 secondaries. So there's a total of 7 things you're keeping track of every battle round.
Yeah, look, we just wanted to, have a bit of a crazy mission on round 3. Like each day, we're kind of aiming to have a bit of a mild one, like a standard kind of 9th edition take and hold, a more middle one, and then one that's just a bit out there to give people an experience of like what 10th is like and a few of the changes. So this mission's really incentivized around planning your scoring and planning your model placement to protect yourself from essentially kill more. Those things are very important in this mission.
Yeah, definitely agree. In terms of terrain placement, you've got the offset WTC L's in the center, which I love that placement. You've got the top right, bottom left objectives kind of semi-hidden by the crate, and also you can kind of toe on in the U-shaped buildings, but you've also exposing yourself if you do so. Then you've got 2 massive L's in your deployment that's kind of just on the objective. Same with the blue triangle ruins there as well, just on that home field one, but they're also protected by those WTC L's in the middle. And then you've got the the other L's that are in the other table quarters offset from the center as well. I think this actually quite allows for a lot of maneuvering to get to both the top right. So going from the bottom right deployment, you can get to the top right or the bottom left very easily. So it allows for rotation, which is good.
Look, this table, mate, is mainly designed around like, and a lot of our tables, the philosophy is, you have kind of a safe deployment. You have a little bit of a nest egg at your home base, but then if you want to score, if you want to push out, you want to do something, you want to take a bit of risk, you need to be fast, and you need to have the ability to just kind of stage in properly. You can't just kind of waltz up the board and avoid getting shot. You need to be able to like, what do they call it? Pepper pot, tactically from ruin to ruin.
Yeah, yeah. And then the WTC layout is a bit lighter from what I can see on this one. A little bit. It's got the crates in the center with only 2 of the bigger L's. And then you've got the 1 big L in each kind of table quarter fully. And then 1 smaller L in each table quarter fully as well. With those crates in the middle offsetting those larger L's.
Yeah, this map on WTC is quite a little bit more open, especially through the center, and the sides can be as well, but you can always hide from first of all blocking on your outside objectives, so it's still reasonably okay as long as you aren't playing, I don't know, a Wraith Knight?
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yes, the fun unit in the game that's doing a lot of damage, that D cannons.
Yes, both of those things.
Yeah. Cool. So round 4. So this is the start of day 2. Everyone's probably maybe had a bit of a big Friday night, maybe not. So coming in, you've got Dawn of War deployment. So traditionally, this is the one that I've heard the most grumbles about. A lot of people don't like Dawn of War. You've then got the Ritual as the primary mission, which is you take out all No Man's Land objectives except for the center. And then you've got to get a unit up. If they're eligible to shoot, you just don't shoot and charge with that unit, and they can place a fresh objective within an inch of that unit that has to be between 6 and 9 inches of the middle objective. So they have to actually start within that range of the middle and then branch their way out as they place them.
I don't believe it's the middle, mate. I actually think you could do it from your home point. If you double check that, I could be wrong, but
wording on it, at the end of that turn, the player's turn can set up 1 objective marker wholly within No Man's Land that's within 1 inch of unit.
This mission specifically is in No Man's Land, yeah, but from where you set it up from, I don't know if it has to be the home one. I have to double check that.
It does say exactly 9 inches from 1 other objective marker and not within 6 inches of any other objective marker. So you could actually legally do it from your deployment zone objective, which
correct. That is the important part here.
Yes, that is good pickup. I like that. With secret intel, which means the first time a player draws secondary mission cards that phase, you draw an additional 1 and then discard. Which I quite
just
like.
Reduces the randomness on the secondaries a bit. They can get a little bit crazy sometimes. So we thought we would, on this mission specifically, where you're setting up primary, we thought we'd try and mitigate that curve that can happen a little bit, parity between players.
Yep, definitely agree. Then in terms of the terrain, you've got 2 of those large line of sight blocking L's, kind of top left, bottom right. You've got the smaller WTC style L's in your top right, bottom left, with a lot of coverage in the middle, as well as those crates just offset within No Man's Land on the top left and bottom right as well. Being able to do the same thing as what you were saying before, I dare say, with that staging,
exactly,
out screening, deep strikes and such as well, from some safety. But yeah, that really good layout, blocks a lot of fire lanes from where you'd expect them to go. Of course, you can pick angles still, but still, you got to work for those angles.
That's the idea, mate.
Then you've got the WTC one. Now, it says they don't have the WTC map for this one, which is fine, for Dawn of War. But you just place the objectives correctly instead. So using, you've got, that's still the 6 big L's, 4 small L's of the WTC with 2 crates, and they're just offset on the center. Looks like for Dawn of War, when you apply it, relatively well covered across the middle. I would actually say the map you've done, Will, has actually got a lot better coverage in those fire lanes.
Thanks, mate. Well, I will give them the credit of saying they didn't do Dawn of War map, so we kind of picked one that had a safe home objective and kind of went from there.
Yeah, which is fair enough. All right, round number 5. So we come to Crucible of Battle. So this is angled hammer and anvil. We've got Sweep and Clear, which is sticky objectives for everybody. And then we've got Supply Drop for the primary. Now, The way this one works is players randomly select different objective markers in No Man's Land, 2 of them specifically. The first one is the Alpha objective, the second one's Omega. At the start of the 4th battle round, the Alpha objective is removed from the battlefield. At the start of the 5th battle round, all objective markers in No Man's Land apart from the Omega objective are also removed. So a bit of player tactical thinking goes into this one in terms of picking the objective. You score 5 victory points for each objective marker you control in No Man's Land. In the 2nd and 3rd battle rounds, in the 4th battle round, you score 8 victory points for controlling those No Man's Land objectives. And in the 5th battle round, the player who has first turn scores 15 victory points if they control the last No Man's Land objective at the end of their command phase. The player who goes second will score it at the end of their turn if they control that last No Man's Land objective. Now, I want to hear about the rationale of pairing these two together. Sticky objectives and supply drop. What's the thinking there?
Yeah, so kind of like I was saying earlier, we want to have missions each day that promote a bit of a safe one, a bit of a normal one, a bit more of a middle one, and then something that's a bit out there. Now, this is somewhere in the middle between out there and normal, because we had sticky objectives in 9th edition, and they worked pretty well. Like, we had priority targets, very similar layout, very similar idea here. Now, the biggest thing here that's different, obviously, is the objectives disappearing. This can create a lot of tactical decision making and planning in advance, and it kind of tests that from the player rather than just being, I have a direct game plan that I know this map pack will work with this map pack, I can stage in this ruin and push out here each turn and whatnot. You have to kind of react, because like you could have it with your opponent that, oh, the middle objective disappears turn 4, or the left or the right, so it could be any of them. So accounting for that is a big deal, and then having the units consolidated in the last round to push and try and hold primary 15 is a big deal. Combining that with sticky means if you can get infiltrators out there, or you can get just anything that's fast and safe for a little bit, even lone ops are very important for this, means you can hold these objectives with relative ease.
Yeah. And having a look at the terrain maps, you've got those big triangle buildings in the deployment zones with the big L's as well. Then you've got both sets of smaller L-shaped, both WTC and non-WTC. The WTC ones have the crates attached to them. And then you've got the L's there as well on the outer objective. So it does allow for getting onto those objectives with relative safety, except the center. You've really got to fight for that one, because you're not able to sit behind cover and just camp there.
Yeah, this is something that we tested a lot coming into WTC for 10th for this year. And this is a really cool dynamic, because it meant that having durable units was quite important for this, or having units that subvert durability in other ways, whether it be lone op or phantasm, things like that.
Yeah, 100% agree. Or the staple of Necrons at the moment, Lich Guard Brick.
Exactly.
So then the WTC map for this one, it's very similar actually in terms of the layout you've got. It's got the 6 L's with the 2 in the middle that have got the crates attached. The only difference is it's got one of the small L's in each deployment with one big L instead of the 2 big ones. Still, I like both layouts for this one.
Great.
So nothing too much to add. So then we come to round 6, and as you were saying, this is more the one of the crazier ones for the day, but not too much, because it's got Chilling Rain, so no mission rule for this one. But we have got priority targets, and it is back to table quarters. So priority targets is at the end of your command phase, you score 5 victory points for each objective you control up to 10. And at the end of the battle, for both players, you score an additional 5 victory points, up to 15 for each objective marker you control. So this is quite a strong primary scoring mission.
Yes, it is very heavy on the control 1, control 2, control 3. You got to have the ability to push out and hold for a little bit, but also if you can kind of pen your opponent in and like an orcs and just keep the wire and pressure on them, you can score before you get tabled as well.
Yeah, so it does allow those armies that maybe aren't doing so well in the meta at the moment. It gives them, before that top cut, it could actually play a bit of a role in terms of who could get in if their army can navigate this game well.
100%.
So then coming to terrain, very similar to the one we just saw for round 5. You've got the triangles in the majority of each deployment. I believe this is actually pretty much the same as the one.
Round 3 and round 6
Yeah.
share the same layout. A lot of the missions do. As we get into the repeats, essentially we made
Yep.
one per deployment type to keep it similar and familiar for players.
Yep, cool. I like that approach. And yeah, so nothing much to add to that one. And I would assume the WTC layout would also stay the same.
It is slightly different due to the mission type.
Okay. All right. So looking at this one, you've got those 2 smaller L's in the middle with the crates offset on the side opposing the walls. So really kind of closing in that center objective. You've got
it's
one
very closed in.
Then you've got the other small L's sitting on your deployment one, which is probably about 40% over it. Then in the no man's land in each corner, you've got one of the big L's probably about 20% on. And then you've got the other 4 kind of half and half on that halfway line.
Yep.
So it does
Just
allow...
for reference, mate, sorry to interrupt, but the blue bases are actually the large WCL, so the big 9-inch walls.
Okay, I've been reading that wrong the entire time. I've been
That's
reading
okay.
it the other way around. Thanks for correcting me, Will. I appreciate that. Okay, no, that is a lot more closed off. That makes it really difficult to maneuver into. But the one thing that it does deter to a certain extent is turn 1 charges.
Yes, you got to be careful with them.
Yeah, don't be too aggressive going onto that center objective and then copping it back.
It's very hard to see, but at the same time, mate, like I've played a lot on this table with Imperial Knights. Can definitely say that if you can push out of your deployment on your right flank onto something on that terrain base, you can generally see into the middle objective and even the top objective pretty reasonably well. So it's kind of this weird thing where the center's safe, but it's also not safe if you don't kind of threaten the flanks a little bit.
Yeah, so it makes people think, which is good.
That's the idea.
All right, round 7. So this was a late change from the players pack to the actual terrain pack, and we've got the update for the terrain pack. So this one is Hammer and Anvil, so pretty straightforward in terms of your deployment. Same deployment map as we talked about for the Hammer and Anvil earlier on. This one is Sights of Power with Chilling Rain. Sights of Power, it's the one where you can camp on it, and if you've got the character camped on it, you get more points, basically.
Yep,
so you get 3 victory points for each objective mark you control, and 3 victory points for each side of power you've empowered, up to a maximum of 15 victory points per turn. And it also notes that the character has to remain on there to keep those control points as well. So if you've got, say, a captain within a unit of intercessors, if they move off with that unit, sure, you're still holding it, but the character has to remain on it to get those points. And then at the end of the game, player who went first score top of the command phase, player who went second scores bottom of the turn. And Chilling Rain. So what is the thinking behind putting this one in round 7?
Yeah, so the big thing that we noticed with this mission in community feedback from like having people that are coming to the event playing and testing it, and also just seeing how it folded out at a big event across the week of like WTC, was that the previous version of this was Vital Ground, I believe it is, so the center objective was removed. Caused a lot of problems in terms of balance of either people got completely like pushed out, like they would get deployed, like trapped in the deployment zone, and it was really hard for them to claw primary back because your home point was worth so little, or the opposite was the case, and it was just Strawhammer because people would just camp and they would just go for the minimum effort and they wouldn't push each other. So we decided to change this because of that balance, and just to make it a healthier mission for the overarching kind of meta at the moment. It kind of makes it better for a lot of the mid armies that have a lot of characters. Like again, like looking at your orcs, looking at your necrons, looking at those armies that are like probably struggling a little bit but still doing well. They can kind of score reasonably well on this mission without too much effort.
Yeah, definitely do agree, because I've actually seen Vital Ground with Hammer and Anvil played on stream, and the exact thing happened. Or might have been Vital Ground. It might have been Crucible of Battle, I think it might have been. Or Hammer and Anvil, one of those two. But yeah, definitely, I've seen that play out live, and I can see which way it goes. So
yeah,
definitely
it can be
agree.
rough.
Yeah. And then WTC map is a bit different for this one again. You've got 2 of the smaller L's connecting each other. One that's probably about 40% on your home objective. Then you've got 1 of the larger L's on your top left, bottom right. And then you've got 1 large L on each of the left and right objectives. The left one's more towards the bottom The right one's more towards the top, and then you've got 2 of the smaller L's kind of blocking that middle objective with the crates, giving some positional ability to do that screening again, as well as providing for some of the smaller units, say like Unit 3 bikes, and camp behind that and then slingshot out onto that objective as well.
Yeah, 100%. This is a very balanced map in terms of where you push to. It has less firing lanes than normal, but that's a part of like dealing with tables. Like sometimes they have more, sometimes they have left, less. But the middle objectives are quite safe here, except for the actual center one.
Yeah, definitely would agree. And then we come to round 8. So this one is Crucible of Battle with Chilling Rain, Take and Hold. A nice, pretty straightforward mission to end the event. I think that's potentially on purpose because fatigue is a thing.
Yep, that is 100% correct, mate. The end of the event, you want people to have a balanced mission. We're talking about finals here. You want people to kind of like, be able to play the game plan without having to do anything too crazy. We've had the crazy missions earlier in the event. We've had the new 10th edition stuff. So this is just a bit of a classic who's going to test their mettle type of thing.
Yeah, which is great to see. And, Take and Holds, that traditional score 5 points for each objective up to 15. No mission objective. It's great. Same deployment map for the TNA one, and then WTC one is...
It's actually wrong, I just realized. I didn't know that it came out wrong, so I will have to fix that in a bit. Apologies, everybody.
All right, but that's all good. These things happen. None of us are perfect. But it's awesome, to look at that and go, all right, what's been going on in terms of the missions? Because nowadays a lot of tournaments they're actually getting into the habit now of doing tournament mission, not just mission packs or releasing the missions ahead of time, but doing terrain packs with them as well, so players know what terrain to actually expect at the event.
Yeah, mate, that's a huge thing. Like, as a competitive player, I can definitely say that towards the start of 9th, it was very, like, you kind of just got what you got. These days, it's super important, and we make an effort to, like, I think pretty much every event since this year and the end of last year, we've gone out of our way to try and make a tournament pack with the terrain maps and the missions later on that, so people can clearly kind of see how it's going to function.
Yep, 100% agree. All right, so now we get into the fun stuff, which is the meta. The meta breakdown for TNAO. It is up on the screen for everyone in chat, and also welcome in to everyone in chat. Hope you guys are enjoying the preview show so far. If you do have any questions at all for either myself or Will about the event, feel free to chuck them in chat. We're happy to, if we've got a little bit of time at the end, we may answer some of them from you guys. So, the meta breakdown, let's run through this. So, for the Space Marine Super Faction, we've got 11 players total, coming in at 10.3% of the overall attending meta. 3 Dark Angels, 2 Blood Angels, 2 Death Watch, 2 Ultramarines, 1 Black Templar, and 1 Space Wolves. For the Imperium Super Faction, we've got 23 players, making up 21.5% of the meta. 6 Adeptus Custodes and 6 Imperial Knight players, with 4 Adeptus Sororitas, 3 Adeptus Mechanicus, 2 Astra Militarum, and 2 Grey Knights. Then for the Chaos Super Faction, we've got 25 players in attendance, making up 23.4% of the meta, with 7 Chaos Space Marines and 7,000 Suns, 6 Chaos Knights, 4 Chaos Demons, and 1 World Eaters. For the Eldari Super Faction, we've got 12 players total, making up 11.2%. With 10 Eldari, there are 2 Asayani players and 8 Eldari, to break that down specifically, but generally they're all looped in together at the moment with the way the codex is written, or the index, I should say. 1 Drukhari and 1 dedicated Harlequins. Then for the Hive Mind Super Faction, we've got 13 players, making up 12.1%, with 7 Gene Stealer Colts and 6 Tyranids. For Xenos, we've got 23 players, with 21.5%, with 8 Necrons, 8 Orcs, 5 Tau, and 2 Leagues of Votann. This is a really diverse meta.
It is, mate. I think it's attracted a lot of different players. When I was looking at it earlier, I think there's nearly 50 players on Xenos, which is about half the event, which is maybe that's due to the rise of Eldar, like with 10 of them alone in this, right? But at the same time, even if you take that out, that's a third of the event. That's really, really good on the representation. And even CSM, they're coming out in droves, like lots of T-Suns, lots of CSM. There's a few demons, so yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I'm a Deathwatch player as well, so I love seeing some Deathwatch representation. We've seen Marines a bit on the decline in terms of the meta as well, so it's still good to see about 10% coming out to play and still trying to, do well with them. And I'm actually quite surprised that overall you're looking at 12 Knight players total, so that's, just over 10%, which I think is a pretty good balance as well.
It makes sense. Like Brisbane's got some Knights is my main faction. There's a few people that have been pinching my stuff and other CK players as well off Soli and whatnot. So you have people running these really cool, unique armies and Knights that they want to take them to an event and have some fun. And if it's a long event, sometimes people just want to chill out. They don't want to have to think all the way through. So
yeah, and Knights are one of those armies that allow for that. There's not as much mental fatigue, so it could lead you going having good playing experience and doing well in your games a lot longer than what you would maybe say an army like Custos or Eldar, where you have to really think a lot more. So then coming to the faction podium, not surprising, we've got Eldari in first place with 10 players with a 9.3% of players total represented just in Eldari. Necrons and Orcs are in second with 8 players each, making up a total of 15% of the players. So that's 7.5 each. And then in third, we've got Chaos Space Marines, Genestealer Cults, and Thousand Suns, each with 7 players of 19.6% of the meta between those three. And the podium itself makes up 47 players for 44% of the overall meta. So
it's a lot of players.
It is. I've seen a lot of podiums as of late being quite heavily weighted towards those factions that are doing quite well. I'm not so much surprised to see a few of them up there. You got Eldari, you got Necrons, you got Genestealer Cults, and Thousand Suns. The ones that I am missing, that you're expecting to do well, they're just on the cusp of it. It's your Chaos Knights, your Custodes, and your Imperial Knights. They're all at 6, so they just missed that cut. But the ones that surprised me getting up there, Chaos Space Marines and Orcs.
Yeah, look, I think with the post-success of things like War Masters and other big events, people have gone, Orcs aren't as actually as bad as what we thought. They can score a lot of primary, they can do a lot of secondary, so they are a points machine. Yeah, they might not kill you, but they're a lot of fun to play, and they're a lot of fun to play into as well. CSM, however, I think was a little bit of a sleeper for a little bit. I don't think people realize the powerhouse of Abaddon and a 10-man Terminator unit, what that can actually do, and even just like a Forge Fiend or some of Blitz with some of the stratagems and the different marks, like they can really punch up. They're some of the hardest hitting units in the game, so they have a lot of killiness, and they have a lot of good lone ops from the Chaos Demons as well. That's soup in.
Yeah, the common build that I've seen is Richard Hill, who's from New South Wales. He's been running a very different CSM build where he's running 3 bricks of 4 Obliterators, 2 Forge Fiends, and then just a smattering of like Cultists, Raptors, Blue Scribes in there as well, as you were saying, that lone operative take for some mobility for scoring and such as well. It's really different build, and it really takes people by surprise.
The full DAC is pretty nuts, mate. Like, we were surprised to see how well a Blitz just punch up into certain things with the indirect and the full rerolls and the ability to pick sustained or lethal every turn.
Yeah. I think it's definitely caught people off guard, and now they're starting to be like, CSM have got some strength. And
exactly.
So it's good to see. I'm looking here, and some factions that we haven't seen too much of in 10th as of late at events. Votan. You've got World Eaters and Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yeah, so we have some players like Gary Morris coming up from New South Wales playing Votan. We also have Oliver Johnson, who is an upcoming player. He's very good on the Votan. He's been using it at quite a few events, and he actually switched off GSC back on a Votan because he's been having so much fun with it, and he's bringing him for this. For the AdMech itself, I don't know everyone who's playing it, but I know Ben Warrior is one of the AdMech connoisseurs. He's bringing it. Sadly, Alex is still sticking on the NIDs instead of staying on the AdMech, but they're there, and it's good to see them. There's a little bit of Grey Knights and a few other things too. Yeah, but no Death Guard is one of the things I noticed.
Yeah, there's no Death Guard. I think almost everything else is represented. The only thing that I would pick up on is that both generic Space Marines that were picked were Ultramarines. So there's
Oh,
actually
okay.
no purely generic, just straight codex, no special characters or anything in terms of the Marines at all. They're all some form of supplement or codex that we've had previously.
Look, it makes sense, mate, to be honest. Like, the base Marine Codex, I know people, when it came out, were like, oh, they get Doom and Guide from Eldar every turn, but realistically, they don't have the data sheets to punch up into that, and they need the special rules from, like, Death Watch or the Dark Angels units to, like, the Deathwing Knights or the Blood Angels units to just kind of take advantage of those abilities.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing them expand so quickly.
Yeah. And bang on that, the top, few are Dark Angels, Blood Angels, and Death Watch.
That's it.
So not surprised at all there as well. So I reckon let's jump in to looking at some lists. We've had a look through. We've got a couple of lists that we've picked to have a look through. We've picked various factions. We also made sure to pick various states as well. So we've got 1 Victorian, 2 Queensland, and 2 New South Wales lists. But it's also important to note, I don't think we actually mentioned how many players are actually in attendance. I think it's around 105, 107.
Yeah, it's in that realm. We've got a few people to sort out. We're just trying to work it out. But yeah, it was 105 to 107. I will say it was quite a bit higher, but with 10th edition being a bit, the turmoil that it's in, we had quite a few drops across post list sub and pre list sub. So we were pretty much sold out, and then it kind of dropped down. But that's okay. We're still here to have an awesome event and a great time. So it'll be good to see.
Yeah, 100%. And it's good to see so many guys traveling from different states and countries. We were talking beforehand, and Finn Decker and some of the New Zealand guys are coming over for it as well.
Yeah, it's great, mate. It's good to see the love.
Yeah, 100%. So the first list that we are going to be looking at is Lawrence Gutierrez from Victoria, one of the Risky Rollers guys. And he is running Adeptus Custodes. So his list, he has got Trajan Valoris is his warlord. He's got a Blade Champion with the Ceaseless Hunter. Then a Shield Captain with Guardian Spear. A brick of 9 Custodian Guard with 2 Shield and Sword in there. And then 1 with a Vexilla. Times that brick by 2. And then 4 units of Prosecutors. So the Bolter Sisters of Silence. Then 2 units of 2 Allurus Custodians. With Guardian Spears, a brick of 6 Wardens with a Vexilla in there as well, and then an Eversaw Assassin. Interesting take. Coming in at 2,000 points. I think it's only the 1 enhancement on the Ceaseless Hunter for the Blade Champion. Really interesting list. The double brick, I dare say Shield Captain's going in one, Trajan's going in another, and maybe the Blade Champion's potentially going in the Wardens.
Yeah, that would sounds about right to me, mate. Yeah, I played Stodes a bit over in Belgium, and I can definitely say this is a close to standard list, though the extra Prosecutors is interesting. That's a lot of chaff units. Normally, people would put 2 times Exaction squads in your allied units. I like the Eversaw pick. I took one recently, and it's actually kind of cute because it has pre-game moves. You can pick between advance and charge or sustained 3, which is actually really kind of cool. So it punches up pretty hard. And there's turn 1. I think it has like a 36-inch threat range. So people actually have to respect it.
Yeah. 100%. It's definitely interesting, and picking up on those Prosecutors. Definitely, like, I've seen the Exactors. Nathan Princey in New South Wales. He was played at Capital Clash. He was running the 2 units of 5 exactions. But yeah, I think probably I think they're 5-man units or potentially 4.
They're 4-mans now.
Yeah.
They used to be 5, so yeah, they're 4 and 10th.
So the screening is not as big as probably what the Extraction Squad was for 5 points more.
Yeah, look, they're not as durable as well because they don't have the 5-up Feel No Pain. They don't have all the advance and action and whatnot. But maybe it's just a choice on he's expecting Thousand Suns and Eldar to be there, and he wants the Feel No Pain against the psychic stuff.
Yeah, quite possibly. So there's some tech in there into the current meta. With there's 7,000 Suns and 10 Eldari, so
a lot.
Yeah, quite got the potential to go into it. The next list we have got is a Queenslander, a veteran of the scene, Mr. Simon Gojkovic, with Tyranids. He is running a Neuro Tyrant that is the Warlord. with a Death Leaper in there as well. 4 bricks of 10 Gargoyles and a brick of 20 Hormagaunts. 5 Barb Gaunts, 2 individual Biovores, 3 individual Lictors. I think Lictors are individual anyway. 2 units of 11 Neurogaunts and 3 units of 2 Pyrovores. An Exocrine, a Maliceptor, a Tyrannofex with the acids, 2 Tyrannofexes with acid spray, and that is the list. That is, yeah, that's a list and a half.
This is very classic Simon, or very classic WTC Australia. It's essentially MSU Gaunt spam. Like, so Brody Middleton played something similar that's recently. But the key things to take away here is the Neuro Tyrant giving the extra leadership debuff for Shadows in the Warp, and then Death Leaper giving an additional -1 leadership. So this will spread over in objectives and touching you with all its units, and the Biovores for scoring and whatnot, and the Meliceptor for some durability. On the army means that sometimes it will just flip primary for a turn or two when you battle shock most of your army and you're not expecting it.
Yeah, that was definitely the thing that I picked up. The Biovores I've seen in action, and their spawn mines counting as scoring when you get something like Investigate Signals. Oh.
Also cheeky to note that the Omni Scramblers don't actually prevent them from setting up at the moment under WTC rules.
Ooh.
So people might need to be careful with that.
Yes, 100%. Barb Gaunt's in there to do some movement restrictions. Lictor's in there to just do, I think they infiltrate and scout, but they can also deep strike from memory. So they, have got some play in terms of their options. The 2x11 Neurogaunts, that's an interesting pick. I think the Neuro Tyrant's definitely going into one of those.
It'd probably be playing by itself, mate. The Neuro Tyrant, you just won't attach it.
Okay.
The Neurogaunts will purely be because they're the cheapest bodies you can get wound for points cost to do screening, to just hold objectives, or to do secondaries.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, again, as we were saying, that definitely that Tyrannid horde with a couple of big beasties in there for the firepower and toughness. So definitely Simon's going to be one to watch out for, in my opinion.
It's a unique list, mate. I haven't seen something like it, so it'll be good to see.
Yeah, and Simon's a really good player too. So
yeah, he's great.
All right, next up, we've got Michael Rootguy from New South Wales on the Necrons. So he's running a Hexmark Destroyer with the Sovereign Coronial. So that's the aura of giving them, what is it? I'm trying to remember it now. It's the...
you count as being led for the +1 to hit.
Yep, that's it. And another Hexmark Destroyer in there. A low-cost Lord with Staff of Light with the Veil. Nemesis Zandrek, another Overlord with Void Scythe and Resorb as the Warlord. Then 2 Technomancers with Staffs of Light and Canoptic Cloaks. Transcendent Satan with the Sempiternal Weave. Classic take at the moment. Then Canoptic Reanimator, 2 units of 2 Crypto Thralls. 2 individual low-cost Destroyers with a brick of 6 low-cost Destroyers. 3 units of 2 low-cost Heavy Destroyers, and then 2 units of 10 Lich Guard with Sword and Shield. Then a unit of 3 Tomb Blades with Shadow Loom, Shield Veins, and Twin Tesla. This is very MSU again.
Yeah, look, it's not far off the standard Necron list. Like, the main things here is the Lich Guard bricks, they combine with the characters to create this very durable 4-up, 5-up, feel no pain, -1 to wound, and then the Crypto Thralls can res. I will note that I don't think it has a Ghost Arc, which means it can't use the Outer Phase strat for free, which is actually big for bringing out the Crypto Thralls to tank on the 4-up if you need to. But yeah, like, it's still a durable list, and the Catan there, that Transcendent Catan is in absolutely everything at the moment. It is a pain to kill. It's very fast because it teleports. Things that are cool here is he's gone for the Locust Heavy Destroyers, or Locust Destroyers for MSU build scoring. These things are one single model on a big base. They're not infantry, so they have to go around walls and stuff, which is a bit annoying, but they're fast enough to, do teleport homers, do area denial, do investigate signals. And he's got some cheeky Tomb Blades for some, moving up the flanks and trying to surround objectives and just hold things.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Will Wyckoff, who took out Capital Clash recently, ran a very similar list. Maybe not as many heavy destroyers because he had the Doomsday Arcs.
Yeah.
But still a very similar idea. The one thing I'll note is that Nemesis Andrex in there to give the no, it's actually not. Nemesis Andrex a bit different. I'm thinking of Imhotep the Stormlord for the CP. That's what I was thinking.
I don't
Was
actually
that
know what
one coming?
Nemesis does, mate. I'm just gonna quickly look it
Yeah.
up because I have not seen him in a list.
No, I haven't either. He does have the Warlord there with the Resorb. So I dare say that Overlord is going to be popped into one of the Lich Guard units. So one unit will have the ability to pop the free res once per battle round.
Yeah, so Zendrak does the same thing, like the free stratagem, but he also, in your command phase, you roll a d6, and you get to pick, that's not pick, you get one of the following on a d3, essentially, so sustained hits 1, lethal hits, and devastating wounds, which is interesting, because they're all relatively good buffs, so I imagine if he's in a Lich Guard unit, they might punch up a little bit more than people are expecting, which could catch people off guard.
Yeah, particularly with devastating wounds. That one
with
help.
dev wounds, definitely, yeah.
You know, being 3 attacks at only strength 6, neg 1. Sure, you can pop a strat to go strength. No, not neg 1. Neg 2 on the swords. They're neg 3 on the war scythes. Going up to strength 7, neg 3. Or, you know, you could do that for free with sustained hits 1. Or not doing that and going with the devastating wounds if you've got that as well. You know, has a lot of potential.
I will note, I actually got that wrong. Sorry. He, thanks to one of you guys pointing out in the chat. Sorry, I didn't see his name, but it's actually Vect. Apologies. So that makes a lot more sense. So, you know, you're trying to find Phantasm, things like that. But, like, yeah, so it builds in the list to try and make it more durable.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that, Junos. One of our community mods. He's always good. He's a Necron player as well. So he's
there you go. Expect him to know it.
All right. So next list we have got is another one of the Queensland guys. He's a member of the Normal Blokes. Mr. Luke Pierce, who is running Chaos Demons.
Yeah, so, Luke's been carving up with this list, so yeah.
So he's got Be'lakor as the Warlord. He's got the Bloodthirster with the Great Axe and Argath, or however you pronounce those demon blades. It always has caught me off. The King of Blades. Then a Lord of Change with literally the Everstave is the enhancement. Shalaxi Hellbane in there as the named Keeper of Secrets, the Blue Scribes, and the Changeling. In battle line, a unit of 3 Nurglings, then a unit of 3 Flamers with some allied units, which is 3 War Dog Brigands. They've got Avenger Chain Cannons, the Demon's Breath Spear, and the Havoc Multi-Launchers. This is big stuff.
This is a very unique list. So, you know, like the demons have been around. This is a list that has been, you know, like Shalaxi with Be'lakor and the Thirster and the Lord of Change, or Karos instead for the you know, teleporting in on Be'lakor and with the 6-inch Aura of Shadows and then pushing out from there. I had the pleasure of playing Luke pre-WTC, and it was a cool list. The Flamers and stuff were very nice for scoring objectives, and you can do the 3-inch Deep Strike and whatnot. But he seems to push away from that into the War Dogs, and they present a interesting, I guess, a solution to something which demons don't really have, which is shooting. Like these chain cannons and the spears and the multi-launcher for a bit of interact means that they can actually start fighting things like Eldar, because, you know, your Farseeds can't be like they're not lone op, they're not a part of a squad, so you start stripping them of guide, you start stripping them of the -1 of wounds. So, you know, this is a pretty interesting list. I reckon Luke's going to do pretty well with it. He's a very skilled player, and he always comes up with unique lists.
Yeah, definitely a unique list. Like, I've seen the big boy demon list before, in terms of running Shalaxi. I've heard she's an absolute blender, as well as Be'lakor's been a pretty decent staple. But to see that you've got a Bloodthirster and a Lord of Change in addition to Shalaxi and a Be'lakor is an interesting take. I know the Bloodthirsters, you know, they're Bloodthirsters. They hit hard in combat as they always have, but the Lord of Change is an interesting take.
The LOC is there for a bit of actual good shooting. It actually has a lot of D3 damage with sustained D3 hits.
Okay.
And it's like strength 10. And the Everstaff, while you're in shadows, roughly off the top of my head, it raises range by a couple of inches and it gives you some extra strength. So it starts actually wounding tougher stuff pretty reasonably.
Okay, that's can help out with those tougher units. Which we've got Junos again in chat just asking, is this list worried about too much big stuff and not enough scoring?
Yeah, so definitely could be, man. Like it's something that's to take into account. However, something we did mention, but should be noted, is the blue scribes and the changeling are an absolute pain in terms of scoring to deal with. The changeling is you get battle shocked if you try and shoot it, or if you try and charge it potentially. It's cost me plenty of points too many times at this point. I'm a little bit annoyed by the model itself, but it's really good for holding those points because it's lone op. The Nurglings, they're OC0, but they can still do other things like a lot of the secondary actions and whatnot. The Flamers are great for this as well. I believe demons can sticky objectives too, so it's not the end of the world. And the 3-inch deep strike and a lot of this, like going back in a deep strike at the end of your opponent's turn and then spending a CP to come back down 3 inches away means there's 4 units here that pretty comfortably score. The War Dogs and the Brigands are actually not bad objective holders themselves, and the demons can push pretty hard too. So you have 4 big characters pushing with supporting shooting and a little bit of scoring elements behind it.
Yeah. And I think that the range on the Brigands actually will allow them to sit, let the big demons go forward, the Lord of Change and the Brigands kind of sit back as that second wave. If they need to go in, they'll go in. But they're there more as that shooting support, as we were saying. Definitely helps with that range. So then, the last list we're going to look at for this evening is Mr. Gary Morris from New South Wales, who is running Leagues of Votann. I couldn't help but pick Gary. He's a great guy.
He's a top dude.
It's great to see him still playing the Votann. So he's got a Brockia Ironmaster with the Grim Demeanor enhancement. And that unit's, you take the Master and it's 5 models. It's like, oh. 2 Iron champions. One has got, they're both the exact same, but one has got the Dark Star Axe, one's got the Mass Hammer and the Wayfarer's Grace enhancement. So actually, they're completely different. Then you've got 2 Carls. One's a Forge-wrought Plasma Axe, Rampart Crest, Volkite Disintegrator. The other one is the Warlord with the Mass Gauntlet, Rampart Crest, and Volcanite Disintegrator with the Appraising Glare enhancement. In Battle Line, he's got a unit of 10 Hearthkin Warriors with 7 Ion Blasters, the Magna Rail, the Medipack, Pan Spectral Scanner, with the Wayfair Crest in there as well. Then a single Sagittor with the High Las Beam Cannon. Then 2 units of 6 Thunderkin with Graviton Blast Cannons. Then a unit of 10 Hearthguard with the Plasma Guns, Grenade Launchers, Teleport Crest in there. Make that 2 bricks of 10 Hearthguard. Then 2 units of 3 Hearthkin Pioneers. Both of them have got the high rotary cannon in there, the Magna Coil auto cannons, as well as the plasma knives. That's got some maneuverability. It's got some durability in the Hearthguard. It's got the firepower in the Thunderkin. It's pretty much going, I'm going to take 2 of everything that is.
Yeah, this is actually a bit of a skew in terms of Votann. It's very heavy on the elites and the characters more so than on a battle line. Now, I haven't seen a lot of Votann personally due to the fact that they're not doing the best at the moment. I actually don't think they're as bad as what people make them out to be, but they take a bit of skilled hands to get pumping. He's got a cool list here, Gary, with the Thunderkin. Those Grav being anti-vehicle 2+, means that into a lot of things they're going to punch up pretty hard. And then if you have tokens on people, the big strat with the Hearthguard here is you can get them to AP, I believe it's AP 4 in combat, because for each token you have, you get an additional AP for a strat. So Votann doesn't actually have a lot of combat naturally at the moment. Like, I don't know what Berserks are like, but they're obviously not in here, so they're probably not great. But having to get just a heap of small attacks at AP 4 is pretty good. They get pretty punchy, and it's a lot of little shooting, and then the Hearthkin Pioneers are good for scouting and just getting up the board and scoring. So it's still a hard army to play at the moment, but I'm sure that Gary will do well with it, and also Ollie is gonna just trying to punch up with it. So we'll see what happens. We could be surprised and see some Votann in the top 10.
It's also I dare say Actually, it can't. The Hearthkin Warriors can't go into the Sagittars because there's only the single one. So you can't actually split the unit between the two, from my understanding.
Yes,
So,
that'll just
yeah.
be for. Actually, I'm curious what he puts in there. He must put a lone character because I don't know if you can put the half guard in there. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I dare say it might be the Ironmaster, quite possibly.
That would make sense. Yeah, it'd be the Ironmaster.
Yeah, and throw him in there, keep it alive, use it as another mobile unit to do scoring.
Yep, looks like it.
And then you've got the Iron Here champions, obviously going to go in with the Hearth card. The Carls as well. They might. I'm not sure where they would go. Whether they'd go with the Hearth, whether they're allowed to go with the Hearth card or the Thunderkin.
I imagine they would have to be with the Thunderkin. I don't know Votan well enough to tell you what attachers where. It's not something I looked at, but I imagine it'd be Thunderkin with the Carls if they can, and the champions will be with the Einar Hearthguard because they're the same chassis essentially.
Yeah, that's what my thinking leads me towards. Definitely the Hearthguard with the champion, but yeah, the Carls with the Thunderkin does make sense as well. But that is the last list for the evening. So yeah, so it's been great looking at TNO. Really looking like a great event, to be honest.
It's like it, mate.
It's 100 and 105, 107 players. I think it's actually closest to one of the biggest Australian events outside of Uprising. Quite possibly.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal we're aiming for, right? Is we would love to have a Uprising on a the biannual instead of having it like they have the start of the year, we get mid-year, kind of end of the year type of thing, so people get a bit of a chance to do one or the other or both.
Yeah. But Will, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your week to come and join us the week before the tournament, or the few days in the lead up. Is there any shout outs that you want to do to thank anyone and such as well?
Yeah, look, man, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors. So Wargamers Hub, Art of War, and OCC, just for looking out, for giving us support for this and for, creating the event that we can do. Also to the awesome community members that are coming to help set up, and the guys from TNA that have been working on the terrain, and just, all around the community and trying to forge this event something that can be great for this year and the years going forward. Yeah,
awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone that has joined us this evening. I hope you have enjoyed the preview for TNA Open. I will let you know we are covering it here on the ATWN this weekend. We'll have coverage starting from about 8:45 a.m. on both Friday and Saturday, and as soon as we can on Sunday. Stores do open a little bit later. I think it's 9 a.m. for a 9:15 start from what I read in the players pack.
I do not know. You'll have to check.
So we'll do as quick as we can on the Sunday. But it's going to be great. I believe the plan is day one is going to be all fun games, interesting characters or interesting matchups on stream. And then day two will start looking towards that top end, with day three being those top cuts for that top four. But it's going to be a great weekend. Jack's going to be on the ground covering it. Also, if you've come in about halfway through or more towards the end of the preview, this is going to be thrown up on YouTube in the next couple of days before the event as well, so you can catch that there on the ATWN's YouTube channel. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. I will be live tomorrow with a hobbying session if you want to come and hang out doing that. But Will, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. And I've been ScottyD. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, and we'll catch you next time.